Salam alaikum. كيف حالك زين? Okay, bro. So let's talk about Disclosure Day. Okay, I watched it once. I wanted to watch it the second time, but it was out. It came
Oh,
in
it already left that
and
quick.
it left real quick. Obsession
Guess
is still here. I
I know
can't
that's
believe it.
funny, right? Yeah, I actually did see it twice. I went back to see it just to make sure, how I felt about it remained the same. It's so funny because I was looking back at you sent me a video. I can't remember what you were seeing, but you're in the cinema and a trailer for Disclosure Day came on.
Yeah,
You were like,
yeah.
"Oh no,"
No, no.
didn't want to see anything at all.
I'm
This is
part
the
of it
trailer
now.
for
I'm just
Disclosure
sorry
Day.
they made you a part of it too.
So I am not watching the fucking
Hello,
trailer
Jay.
just before it's released, man.
Have a seat.
I didn't know anything about it, and I just saw a couple scenes now, and I'm so fucking pissed, bro. I'm so fucking pissed, bro.
And I only say that because it's funny to me because it seems like to me now that I've seen it, I think everything was in the trailers. Like it didn't really,
Ah,
I guess if I'm jumping right into it,
yeah,
it really probably should have been called, the day before Disclosure Day or something.
yes.
I think I expected a movie about the aftermath, a movie about how the world deals with this thing, and instead it kind of leads right up to that moment instead. So it was already not the movie I was expecting, but it's funny because you were avoiding trailers and all this kind of stuff, and I was like, I think had I paid attention, the trailers kind of showed us almost everything we need to know.
Well, see, I came in real blind. I came in real blind because I knew right away, because of the nature of the movie, I felt like, what's the most interesting thing? The most interesting thing is you don't know what the hell it is. That's for me what the most interesting thing. So I took that and I'd be like, okay. And I was so on board. I was so hyped. I was like, I'm gonna be. When I came in the theater, I just glued to the screen. You know what I'm saying? And I loved it. And I kept and I was hanging in there. You know what I mean? I was hanging in there. There were some little things I'm like, I don't care. I love this. I love this. I love this. But until there's the one moment that I was like, and it wasn't like I was like, oh, this is bad or anything. It's just this word of disappointment.
It's so difficult, right? Because now we're coming at this. I've seen the internet react a bit,
And I
and
haven't,
you
which is
haven't
crazy.
still. That's
I
good.
don't know what.
I would say I don't think I'm being unfair to say that they're generally bad reactions. Like I
Okay.
think people are not, and that's why I think I text you without talking about the plot of the movie. I think I mentioned something to you about you either that line in The Dark Knight. You either die a hero or live long enough to see yourself become the villain.
Yes.
I'm seeing some of these reactions online. It's making me really, like this is Spielberg, this is like peak of cinema, peak kind of what everyone aspires to, I think. So it's hard to preface that, with all of his background and everything, and now having an audience is seeing his work and being like, ugh, because I don't think it's a great movie, but I think even a not great, not even a not great Spielberg movie is a pretty great movie. You know what I mean? He's got such a handle on the craft that I was very entertained. But I found a lot of issues with it that felt like a very. Well, here's my thing. Like, I don't know if it was meant to. Like, I think it was just a popcorn blockbuster family movie. You know what I mean? It wasn't trying to get very deep into this stuff. It turns out it was more of a, I think it's about the journey. The idea he was trying to accomplish was about empathy. That's the last line of the film. She says, "Listen." I think it's a little heavy-handed. I think maybe it's a little bit naive, in the world we live in. But there's this
Yeah,
very
yeah.
glossy idea or very like naive understanding, it seems like, or maybe just what you want the world to be like. But the fact who watches the news anymore, like the fact that would even be the big premise you're building up to is that she needs to get this broadcast on the news seems a little outdated in our current time. Like
I thought exactly the same.
if this
I
came out
thought
in
it.
1997, I think it makes sense, but it just feels a bit, and they're almost like that, and they're also just lines of dialogue that I felt a little like, I don't know. There's moments just feels a bit like, he's like, what are we doing? He's like, oh, I stole the secrets, and they don't want, it just all felt very, and I think it's because they want it to be very easily digestible for children and adults of all ages. But because of that, to me, it just came across very like I say, naive, I think. Not childish per se, but it was a little bit like, who's this for? And who do you expect to be believing this? Moments like that, but also things like the way in which they escape from these seemingly should be high government officials. Things like, oh, they pushed their car off the ledge and they're 5 feet away from them, or before that, he sneaks around the barn, just around the fence line. I'm like, there's no perimeter set. It just seems like there was a line of dialogue to their credit about earlier in the film. The government came and they asked Colin Firth's character, like, do you need some other assistance? And he's like, no, no, no. I want my people to handle it. So I think he doesn't want any, he's trying to keep this, information from spreading. So it's supposed to be a small group hunting them. But it still seems like, again, just seems very naive on the way in which knowing how we're actually tracked, or even like, oh, I'm going to break my cell phone in half or run over it. It's like, I think we're a little bit past that with all the facial recognition technology and like even Eagle Eye, was a movie from 20 years ago now, kind of handled that aspect better. And then of course we've got movies like Arrival that kind of talk about aliens arriving on the Earth things. And then of course you get to the ending and it's just the exact way we've always imagined aliens, a green spaceman from Mars. So I was like, I think you built up something and you left the audiences a little disappointed.
You're reading my mind. You're reading my mind. The thing is, the moment for me was I was on board until this, when they meet. And she just walks into this military base and everyone is just like, yeah, whatever, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, well, and she goes to the Colin Firth character and you see some old woman that
his wife,
it's his wife. And I'm like, okay, so does this mean that like people can't control it, or is just literally you just bring up a dead person and the person might be like, oh, my dead, whatever, and
You're
just
right.
buckle.
All of her powers are out of her control. Yeah. You're
And
right.
I couldn't gauge how powerful was the mind control. Like if she can just walk into a base and nobody can do anything and walk out, then what's the danger? Why? What's the chase? If she can just literally, she can just walk in and nobody can do anything.
That's pretty much what they implied. Because he even says that he's like, "Oh my God, she's invincible," basically, or something like that. Once she walks away, one of the soldiers says. Can I tell you my theory though? I think we talked about this maybe months back because there was theories going around that Disclosure Day was a secret sequel to Close Encounters of the Third Kind. And I think maybe it was, and they did a quick rewrite because the ending where they've been building her house, they build her childhood home. It makes no sense. All to just sort of jog her memory. That's the only reason they did it. I think they were rebuilding the house from Close Encounters from the very beginning. I think she's meant to be. Remember the beginning of the movie, the girl steps out into a field. I think that was meant to be her character, and they were going to build that all in and break it. And then I think they chickened out. And they're like, oh shit, we've been filming this whole thing about them building a house. And instead of connecting it to Close Encounters, they were like, oh, let's just make it about this and that. But like if you look, the design is pretty similar. They just made some, changes. Anyway, this is just a theory I have because I'm like, otherwise, what was that all about? They built a house just to jog her memory, and not the guy. Why not the other kid? Why only her? This is why I believe that I think things were happening in the rewrite room that really were detrimental to what happened in the end. Because I actually think they should have kept it with that. I would have preferred the secret sequel, I would have like, oh, they tie it in. But I think they were too afraid of backlash of being like, this is just a theory I have. So otherwise, what in the world was that about?
Well, I didn't really understand why these two had to meet. Mm-hmm. What was and I didn't really get what was the whole point. So they abducted the two kids. They abducted them. Then they released them back. Then they had to meet in order.
Yeah. The idea was, again, it's not, they had some ideas that never really came into fruition. Because similarly, like, what's up with the crop circle? Why did that happen? But the idea is he speaks the language of the aliens, which is like math, and she can speak the language of the humans. So it's like he can speak to them, she can speak to us, and together they create this bridge. But they never really, all he really did in the film was load in, all right, we're gonna load in a lot of footage here, guys. Here it comes. Get ready on camera 3. Get ready on monitor boat B. And it just that's kind of his final function in the final act of the movie. Instead of this, that's what I mean. Is there's all this sort of like the build up. I want to see the movie. I thought it was Disclosure Day. I want to see the world react. I want to see what happens. How do we respond to this?
This is good because, like, now that I'm thinking about it, I'm thinking, okay, well, what if she was the? Let's say he took his main role was he took the files from the government.
Yeah.
So when he took the files from the government, what have been good, I would thought is that would activate her to become whatever she had to become because this is like the time
Yeah.
to do it. You know what I mean? Even he had nothing to do. Like he's just a normal dude. No one abducted him when he was a little child. But his act of taking the footage and maybe like destiny coming, then she gets activated and she kind of brings
Well,
the.
the cardinal flew into her door at the start, which I guess was her activation, which has another
Is this
issue.
is this cheese? Is this Steven Spielberg cheese? Because I've been rewatching Steven Spielberg movies, and there are moments where things don't make sense whatsoever, but they kind of like
Yeah. Well, the issue also is that the CGI animals
Oh,
are
they
just
suck.
they just look
The
so
CGI
bad.
animals, they suck.
And
Why?
what happened to real like when did we stop? I mean, I guess deer is maybe pretty difficult, but since when did we stop having like the birds in films? You know, like surely a cardinal can't be hard to you can make that land on a table, right? And then what else? What I don't know. Just I think it was even a CGI girl's feet, but all that really took me out of it. In moments when again it didn't have to, and it's also cheesy lines. Like he steps into the cabin, and it's like it's the way they look at us. They remember he talking to the deer. He's like
Yeah.
as if they know something, or but they also want to run away or something. Trying to be talking about the aliens, you know. But it's like, are you trying to tell me that all these deer are alien, or are you trying to tell me? There's also very confused. But even that,
Oh
when you're
yeah.
staring out
You're
the window
right.
at these CGI deer, it really just takes you out of it, you know. And they also don't look any better than there's, you know, we've had. I don't know. It's so hard to watch things like Ready Player One or even like Minority Report was like some of the CGI was so good, and now we're 20 years later, and it's
Bro,
go that route with the mythic fairy tale.
the CGI animals is not actually just this movie. I've been seeing really bad CGI animals for quite a while now. For quite a while. I don't know what. Maybe it's just our brains have become so advanced at seeing fakeness. I don't know. You know what I'm saying?
That's why you would think you wouldn't even write it in as a plot point to make that so
Exactly. When I finished the movie, I was like, okay, I felt disappointed. I didn't feel bad, I felt disappointed.
hmm
But as time went on, as me and you, we kept postponing the thing, I kept like watching the interviews and the
Yeah,
director talking about it and the actors talking about it. And I like, you know what? It grew on me. It grew
right.
on me. And it's artificial.
I categorize Spielberg movies in two ways. He's got these sort of high art, Schindler's List, Saving Private Ryan. Some of these like those are Spielberg movies. And then he's got some like just for the family, cheesy. I call those Spielbergers. It's a Spielberger.
Yes.
It's a
Yes.
summer dumb thing. It's not
Yes.
even like Indiana Jones. I'd put in that category. You know what I mean? These are Jurassic Park, maybe somewhere in the middle. Anyway, these are
Hmm.
this instead of like what's best and worst. I'm like he's got some stuff that's just for fun, just a little bit
Yes.
like I don't want you to you're overthinking this. It's just supposed to be a little a fun burger. It's a junk food. It's junk food, right? Where he's got really good meal over here, the Spielbergs and the
Yes.
Spielbergers. And I think at
Yes.
Disclosure Day, it might be a Spielberger. It was meant to be eaten by the whole family for cheap. You want to get
Yep.
everybody in the theater, get everybody laughing, nothing too deep. And that's the issue. And also, it's a message that really is important right now.
Yes.
Like
Yes.
that's
Yes.
what came out with. It's like it's a one note song. Like it doesn't have a lot of deep things to think about, but it has one point it wants to make, which is empathize with each other, have empathy
Yes.
with humans. Like it uses the prospect of someone of like watching us treat another species poorly to try to make us think about ourselves. That it's all in the shadow of the whole plot of the movie. It's like there's a world war, nuclear war about to happen. It's just kind of on the outskirts of the dialogue. It's not written well. I'll give it that. But that's because there's a Spielberger. They don't want you to think about. They don't want to clarify like, oh, it's North Korea or it's China. This is meant to be whole family. Just sit down, enjoy yourself. But it did not land that way, and that's why I'm so. It makes me fearful for even his next project. Like, is even Spielberg not going to be trustworthy? I mean, look, it made its budget back, right? So in the studio's eyes, surely it's a win, and yet reviewing is I see not going with. But I'm with you. I think even a Spielberger is better than most Hollywood crap. I think it's still a very decent movie. Is it like very mature or adult theme? No, probably not. But can you sit down with your 12-year-old niece or nephew and and maybe get a kick out of it. Maybe, or maybe it's 20 years too late. Maybe it's still not. Maybe it's not fun for them. You know what I mean? I wonder. You got a green alien in the end, which I think is not. Had it been, I've seen some people say if it were, when they found out that, oh, that's what you're building up to. That's the big reveal. It seems like instead of building her house, you probably could have just shown her that.
Yeah.
Why'd you rebuild her entire house in a factory when you can like, hey, we've got an alien with a respirator asthma problem back here. You want to see him?
I agree, bro. I agree. I never thought about that because I've been rewatching the Spielberg movies, and I'll start thinking, okay, how do I categorize? What do I do with this? It's like that scene in Indiana Jones, the first one, when he hops in on that submarine. He did this. And then they do the map, and the submarine is going like through the thing, and I'm like, well, hold on, did it submerge?
Yeah, is he just holding on? Right. Right.
And I'm like, okay,
so
now
you'd be amazed. Actually, I read the original draft. They cut a scene where he fights an octopus. He's supposed to be holding on, and he kicks like this. It's like, yeah, exactly. See what they cut? What movie it was supposed to be?
Yeah,
Spielberg, right?
Spielberg. Exactly, Spielberg. But here's the thing, though. With this one, though, I feel like what didn't make sense for me was the story. I felt it could have been even more simpler. It could have even been better if it had been more simpler. I felt like there was just something, and I read, and I went like on some the thing about the writer, and he's like a very famous writer.
David Cope, yeah.
David Cope. He did like Jurassic, I think, World and all those.
Yeah,
yes.
but unfortunately, he also did Indiana Jones in the Crystal Skull.
I gotta rewatch it. I can't judge it. I gotta rewatch it.
All right, fair enough. I'll let you.
I will do it. And what he said was that it literally, like, Spielberg gave him a 50-page story, and then as they were doing the process, he did 42 drafts. 42. He said, I never did this before ever on anything.
No. Right.
Maybe that's what happened here, is that maybe it was just too much, because there's a famous story about Clint Eastwood, where he got a script and he kept rewriting it, and then at the end he realized that the original is the best one.
Right.
And it was Unforgiven. It was Unforgiven.
Yeah, which is a great screenplay.
And I think maybe this is what happened here. Maybe it was just too much.
Right.
Too much rewrite. That's why the house thing, like you said, but I don't know, because maybe something even happened during filming, like you said. Maybe they're literally doing filming. Maybe that's when draft number 40.
It to me, yeah, because that was a real tough. That was the reveal. She walks in, and I was like, "How?" But as an audience member, why do we care? It felt like it felt like it was gonna be a reveal for us as well, and it would have been had it been like dun dun dun. It's the house from the very beginning of Close Encounters, and she's that little girl who looks up at the, you know what I mean? You would have been like, I think it would have worked. I think they chickened out. I think they were like, wait a minute, we can't. People are going to hate that. It's like, people hate this even more. But again, this is only a theory. And I agree, it's mostly script problems. There are moments in there, like when the train crash, or there's some moments that are just classic Spielberg tension, and even really beautiful shot design. I liked a lot of it. I love the car chases. There's some really interesting things happening that, show that he's still the master of direction and still, the master of this form. But a bad script's going to be a bad script, even though this is actually a decent script. I think it becomes even, like I said, even a bad Spielberg, in my opinion, is still a good movie. I think it's a decent film, much better than a lot of the crap. And it's an original film. Have there been other films in the similar topic that I enjoyed more, or I thought was more mature, or more like yes, but doesn't mean there's not a place for this. There's not a place to learn the message of empathy, especially right now. And it's so sad to see, to me, that it's not really been accepted. Everybody's like, we don't want your empathy.
Also, I have to give a lot of props to the performances. I feel like the performances were good. Emily Blunt, she was amazing. And bro, this is on camera. This is on camera. When she spoke Russian, I could understand her. It's first time I see someone
think it was
like
really her, or was it a voice
No. I'm saying what she was saying.
Yeah.
In Russian, it were actual words, because usually they'll just blubber like ah ha ha blah blah. You know what I'm saying? But she was actually saying actual words. You know what I mean? And I appreciate that. I
But was
appreciate
it
that.
when I say, what do you think it was really her? Or do you think? I guess she would have had to learn the lines either way to match the line movement.
She said she did.
Wow.
I looked at her interviews. She said she learned everything.
Same. I think she learned Korean. Then I guess too. There's a couple.
Yeah,
Of moments.
she was just saying I was just doing it phonetically. I was just like whatever phonetically, and I just kept
That's so
learning
interesting,
and
'cause
learning.
you're so right. I just rewatched Back to the Future at the beginning of they're Libyan terrorists. They're just kind of
Yeah.
like blah, 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 go go. They're just you can tell they're just gibberish, and they put on
Gibberish.
a
Turban.
yeah, they put on a turban and yell nonsense, and that's all it took in the 80s.
It's crazy that Steven Spielberg actually suggested to use AI for Emily Blunt's alien voice,
Oh,
but she did it herself, and she said like she had to put a microphone like on her here, a microphone like here, and she was just like doing it. So it's not like her actually, but you can hear like the
projecting.
deep,
Yeah.
whatever
I'm
she
glad
was doing.
that's what I was afraid you were about to say about the Russian. I thought you were going to tell me it was AI. And
No, Emily Blunt, she's the girl.
That's
Appreciate her. I'm still
No,
disappointed
I'm
at what's her name? Felicity Joe. No. The one in Brutalist.
Oh, from
you
The
know, when she
Brutalist.
spoke Hungarian,
Yeah.
that was deception. That was deception. I thought she had to.
Deception.
Lies! Deceptions!
I believed her. Bro.
You mean Jen Ursa?
Jen Ursa, yes, yes, Jen Ursa, yes.
Who are you?
I'm Jin Urso.
I also have to say that the director was brave. I love Steven Spielberg. Like he just came out on every interview and he says, "I believe aliens are real. I believe government has them," and he's just unapologetic about it. He's just like boom,
Totally.
boom, boom.
One of
and
the
I
best
so
things-
respect that. I so respect that, bro.
One of the best things that's come out of this movie is the press tour has given us so many nice tidbits and stories from Spielberg's career to look
Yes.
back on. He said some things I think either never been said before, never been said before in this way. He's told some really interesting stories. I totally agree. He's the master, and that's why it's hard to see him be critiqued. Of course, everyone can be critiqued. It's not his first time, but
Yeah.
John Williams' score, Spielberg back together. I can't help but. Was I disappointed in it? Yeah, but I still excited to see them back on screen.
But bro, this movie is the highest amount that he ever made since Ready Player One. You know what I mean?
Really?
So I don't think that
guess
they're
he's
gonna
Yeah.
consider it unsuccessful. I feel like it's gonna maybe not make a lot of money, but hopefully, but Steven Spielberg, man, he can do whatever the fuck he wants. You know what I mean?
I think that was funny. This is the first time in history, I think, that they just put his last name only. It just on the posters, it just said Spielberg, Disclosure Day. So obviously they were banking on the name, the name alone. And it's funny, yeah. I think also Ready Player One was his last attempt at one of those family-friendly junk food, summer blockbusters. That it was a crowd pleaser. I think he went away from that for a couple of years, and now this was his attempt at trying to crowd please again. The crowd does not seem as pleased as you and I are, but like I said, I couldn't help it. Is it the top of my list for Spielberg? No, but is it a great addition to his movies?
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
I love it, bro.
Yeah.
I love it, bro.